Okay, this is Dr. Mitchell again, and we are going to walk through how to design our bar graphs with data we have analyzed, setting the graphs up, cleaning them up, making them look presentable, as well as, importantly, including error bars. So what I'm going to do is I have just some data here in front of us. This is pre versus post data, as VO2 max data we're looking at. So we have our subjects. These are nice subjects. This would be data that we did a dependent t-test on because it's the same subjects. So we have our pre-data in column B and then our post-data here in column C. Now, before we do the chart, we do have to get a couple analyses done real quickly. We're going to need the mean, the standard deviation, and we're going to need the standard error of the mean for each of these. Now, we've done these before and talked about these in class, so I'm going to do these very quickly here. What I'm doing is just designing, getting the mean for my pre-VO2. I'm going to do my standard deviation. And again, I go through this much more in depthly in other videos, so I encourage you to do that. So I just have my mean and standard deviation for pre. I got my values for post. Now, if you remember, standard error is your standard deviation divided by your square root of n. Okay. So my standard error here for my pre-VO2 would be my standard deviation, 5.76, divided by the square root of n. Well, I have 9 subjects, so that's n. The square root of 9 is 3. So if I really want, I can just put in this cell here, that equals 5.769 divided by 3, and I'll get 1.923. I could also have done the actual formula in the Excel format. I could have done, instead of that, I could have done, okay, this is going to equal my standard deviation, which is in cell B13. So B13. I'm going to take that, and then I'm going to divide that by the square root, SQRT, of n. Now, my n is 9, so I'll just put 9 there. So you do need to know what your n is, obviously. And then we can make sure I got this right one too. I think that'll work. Okay. There we go. 1.923. So again, that'll be my formula. You're going to end up with the same answer. So either way you want to do that. And then what I can do is I can copy that, and we're going to put the same formula there, except now it's going to use C13, which is my standard deviation for my post data. So those are my standard errors. So before you even do your graph, you have to have your mean, your standard deviation, your standard error. You have to have those before we get started. Okay. So what we're going to do, I'm just going to highlight these. I'm going to put these in bold because I am going to refer to these later on. And I am going to just highlight my mean values. Now this is really key. When you design your graph, we're not going to highlight all of our data. We're just going to highlight the means, because all we're designing a bar graph of is of the means for each group, not for each person. And that's really important, because we're going to go up to Insert, going to go up to Bar Graph up here. We'll just choose regular bar graph. And now you'll notice it's just taking my mean value from each group. Now, one thing I am going to need to do real quickly, and this is just a little nuance to get the error bars right, is I'm actually going to go up to Select Data, and there's a little button that says Switch Row and Column. You're going to need to click on that. And the reason being, unfortunately, in Excel, it doesn't let you do error bars independently without doing this step. So you have to do this step. So I'm going to hit that. I'm going to hit click. Now, what it's going to do is actually going to bring my bars right, my bar graph a little closer to each other, which is nice. Okay, so now what I have is I now have my mean value for pre, my mean value for post, but I don't have any titles or anything. So I want to make this a little more presentable. So I'm going to put a title here, and I'm going to just give it a title. I'm just going to say VO2 max in subjects before, I'm just making this up, before and after training. Just whatever title I want to come up with. I'm going to do something with the axes here. So my vertical axis, I'm going to go to Insert Chart Element. I'm going to go to axis title, my vertical axis, and that's VO2. And typically we would not only put that, we'd also put what units it is. That's a professional way to do that, just so someone knows. Now on the y-axis here, that 1 is not helping me, so I'm actually going to get rid of that. And I actually might later on put pre for my blue and post. I may insert a little text box here just to make it cleaner. I can do a legend as well. I'll show you how to do a legend in a second. So I have this cleaned up. You know, I can obviously adjust the graph, adjust the colors if I want. Maybe I don't like the blue and orange. If you're not a Gator fan, maybe I want to change the color. So I'm just going to go to Format Data Series, color, and I might adjust this color. I'm going to move me to the side here. I'm going to make this, let's see, fill. Let's do the fill color. Instead of orange, I'm going to pick kind of like a dark, let's do a little darker than that. Maybe like a really dark blue, have light blue and dark blue. Very commonly in journal articles and research papers, you actually often don't see colors. You usually see changes in the inside because a lot of times journals are printed in black and white, so colors are not very helpful. And so sometimes you'll see patterns or something like that. You might see one that looks like this, and then another one that has kind of a different pattern, maybe something like that. Again, I'm just giving you examples of what you can do. There's not necessarily a right or wrong here, but we do want to make sure that that is obvious that we have two different values here. Okay, what we can also do is add a legend, and so I'm going to show you how to do that. I'm going to go up to Add Chart Element. We're going to go to Legend, and we're going to put it on the right here, and we're going to move this over. And so we can do that. We can add our legend here, Series 1, Series 2. We can rename these as well, and I'm going to actually move this box over here. I'm going to move some of our data there. So you can format these how you want. If I want, I could just get rid of that, and I could insert text box or insert something like that where I can write pre and post myself. Doesn't matter. Now at this point we have one more step, and that one more step is the error bars. And so in order to do that, we're going to go click back on our chart here, and we're going to go to Chart Tools, Design, and now we need to add error bars. So Add Chart Element, and I'm going to start with my pre-data. So I'm going to click on my pre-data, Add Chart Element. I'm going to go to Error Bars, and it's going to say Standard Error. I'm going to go Standard Error. All right. Now what I'm going to need to do is over the side here, I'm going to need to edit this because I need to tell it what the standard error is because it doesn't know that yet. And so I'm going to go to Series Options. I'm going to go to Series 1 Toolbars, or Error Bars, hit my 3 graph there, and I'm going to scroll down. And this is where I can adjust my toolbars. Now I can adjust other things. I can adjust how my error bars look. I can give them a different color. I can make them thicker or smaller. You can do that. I'm just focused on getting it right here. So with our error bar, I'm going to scroll down, and I'm going to put Custom. And I'm going to actually tell it what value I want. And so I'm going to go to a specific value, and I'm going to tell you I'm going to tell it how long I want the error bar. And my standard error for my pre-data is 1.92. So I'm actually going to put in there 1.92. I'll even put 1.923 if you want to be exact. And the negative side will be 1.923. And so it hit OK. It's now going to adjust the size of that error bar to fit for that group of data for my pre-VO2 data. Now I'm just doing the same thing for my other bar here. I'm going to go click on that bar, go to Add Chart Element, go to Error Bars, Standard Error, and again I'm now going to go back to my side here. I now am going to alter my error bar for this bar. Same options now appear. And I'm going to scroll down and give it a custom standard error value, hit specific value. Now for this one, the standard error is different. For this one, it's 1.642. So I'm going to just type in 1.642 for the positive, 1.642 for the negative, And there you go, it's put in my error bar. And that's important because these errors, these standard errors are different for my pre and post data, so I want to make sure they're accurate to my graph. And you'll notice Excel automatically readjusts my graph, and if I want to, I can adjust these values, I can get rid of these lines. That's totally up to you. I'll leave that to you if you want to make it cleaner like that. I can move my titles around. A lot we can do here. But now the beauty is I can copy this entire graph into a paper, into the research paper I'm writing, what have you, put it right in, and it'll fit really nicely. So that's how we make a bar graph. Again, rewatch this as you're doing your first few graphs as you get good at this, and we will see you in the next video.